Göbekli Tepe turned out to be what you think it might have been, the place where advanced ancient civilization once inhabited, or they used it.
Before the pyramids, before Stonehenge, hunter-gatherers carved symbols into massive stone pillars that archaeologists couldn't decode for decades.
Göbekli Tepe in Turkey kept on forcing itself upon me. Göbekli Tepe was a game changer.
It's very difficult to know what the purpose of something like Göbekli Tepe could be.
I have to get back in and I have to investigate this again.
Recent analysis suggests these carvings might represent sophisticated astronomical knowledge, possibly even recording catastrophic events from the distant past. What researchers are finding challenges everything we thought we knew about our Stone Age ancestors.
What he discovered was mind-blowing. After discovering the first T-shaped pillar buried at the site and began digging, they realized what was really at the site.
The world's oldest mystery. For over a decade, the colossal T-shaped pillars of Göbekli Tepe have challenged our fundamental understanding of prehistoric human capabilities. Recent research suggests their intricate animal carvings and abstract symbols might be more than mere decoration.
For me, this is one of the most exciting sites in modern archaeology. Because here at Göbekli Tepe are some of the oldest buildings in the world. They date to nearly 3 times the age of the first Egyptian pyramid.
They could represent a sophisticated knowledge system that predates agriculture by thousands of years, potentially making this humanity's oldest star map. To understand why this site is so revolutionary, we must first grasp its impossible age. Göbekli Tepe was constructed around 9,500 BCE. This means it is a staggering 6,000 years older than Stonehenge and 7,000 years older than the Great Pyramids of Giza. When these stones were being carved, mammoths still walked the earth. This was the Stone Age in the most literal sense, a time before humanity had mastered metal, before we had domesticated the horse, and thousands of years before the first cities would rise in Mesopotamia. For generations, archaeologists have told us a simple, logical story of civilization. First, humans learned to farm. Agriculture provided a stable food supply, which allowed people to settle down in permanent villages. These settlements grew, surpluses were created, and this new complexity eventually gave rise to social hierarchies, specialized jobs, and the spare time and resources needed to build monumental architecture like temples and pyramids. In this story, religion and a complex society were the products of agriculture. Göbekli Tepe shatters that narrative completely. Because the people who built Göbekli Tepe were not farmers. They were hunter-gatherers. They roamed the landscape, hunting gazelle and gathering wild plants. They had no permanent settlements, no domesticated animals, and only simple stone tools. According to everything we thought we knew, they should have been living hand-to-mouth, concerned only with survival. They should not have had the time, the organization, or the need to quarry 20-ton stones, drag them from a quarry, and erect them in precise circles, adorned with breathtaking art. This site presents us with a stunning paradox. What if it wasn't farming that made civilization possible, but the human impulse to gather for ritual and belief that came first? What if temple building preceded the town? This radical idea began to take shape in 1994, when German archaeologist Dr. Klaus Schmidt, following up on a survey, first visited the site. He immediately recognized that the hill was not a natural formation.
So it's an unbelievable good preservation of this enclosure, which had been erected by Stone Age people so long ago, and which is still existing.
But man-made, an artificial mound hiding something ancient. When excavations began, the world of archaeology was rocked to its core. Schmidt and his team uncovered not a simple settlement, but a sprawling complex of stone circles and pillars, a veritable cathedral complex from the Stone Age. He realized this was a site of monumental importance, a place that would force textbooks to be rewritten. But with discovery came a deeper mystery. The pillars were covered in a menagerie of carved creatures: foxes, scorpions, snarling boars, and swooping vultures. What did these symbols mean? Were they mere decorations, tribal totems, or parts of a shamanic ritual? For decades, experts could only guess. The symbols were a code without a cipher, a language without a Rosetta Stone. Recent analysis by researcher Martin Sweatman suggests these symbols might represent constellations and astronomical events, potentially making this humanity's oldest star map. The sheer volume of data, the precise placement of each carving, their relationship to each other, and to the pillars, was too vast for any human to analyze completely. We were staring at a 12,000-year-old message, utterly incapable of reading it. We needed new tools to help decode what might be humanity's first attempt to record its understanding of the cosmos. Rewriting human history. To truly grasp the earthquake that Göbekli Tepe caused in the world of archaeology, we need to move beyond the dates and step onto the sacred ground itself. We need to examine what was actually found there, stone by stone. Imagine not a crude pile of rocks, but a sophisticated architectural complex. We see multiple large circular enclosures sunk into the bedrock of the hill, and within these circles stand the giants, massive T-shaped limestone pillars. These are not small tokens, they are monumental, with the largest towering over 18 feet high and weighing between 7 and 10 tons, the equivalent of a large bus, carved, shaped, and moved over 11,000 years ago. But the scale is only half the story. And with eye taking a deeper look, the surfaces of these pillars are coming alive. They are canvases of intricate carvings, foxes, cranes, snarling boars, slithering snakes, and scorpions, all rendered with a startling artistic skill and a sense of purpose. These are not random scratches. This is a deliberate, symbolic language in stone. So who were the artists? The answer lies in the trash heaps of history. AI analysis of the animal bones found at the site paints a very clear picture. This was a hunter-gatherer world. The diet was dominated by wild gazelle, which made up over 60% of the bones, along with wild boar, sheep, and red deer. Crucially, there is no evidence of domesticated plants or animals in the earliest layers. These people were not farmers tending fields. They were hunters following herds and gatherers foraging for wild plants. They had simple stone tools, and according to our old models, they should have been incapable of the complex organization required for such a project. This leads to one of Göbekli Tepe's most captivating mysteries, its own death. Around 8000 BCE, after more than 1,000 years of use, something remarkable happened. The entire site was deliberately and carefully buried. It was not abandoned to decay or destroyed in a catastrophe. It was filled in with an incredible amount of soil, stone, and animal bones, effectively entombing the entire complex. This was a mammoth, back-breaking task in its own right. Why would they do it? The leading theory is preservation. It was an act of reverence, a way to protect their sacred ground for eternity. And it worked. This burial is the very reason the carvings are so impeccably preserved for us to find today, a time capsule sealed at the end of the Stone Age. This deliberate act of burial underscores the site's profound importance. It forces a revolutionary implication. What if the driving force behind civilization wasn't a full stomach, but a hungry soul? Göbekli Tepe suggests that the human impulse to come together for ritual, to create a shared belief system and a communal identity, may have been the catalyst that first brought hunter-gatherers together in large, organized groups. It was this need to build and maintain a temple that may have necessitated settling down, which in turn could have spurred the domestication of plants and animals to feed the workforce. In this new story, religion and community didn't emerge from farming, they may have invented it. The story of Göbekli Tepe is continually evolving, with recent excavations and technological advancements adding fascinating new layers of nuance that challenge its initial interpretation as a pure sanctuary. The traditional view of the site as a ritual center built by nomadic hunter-gatherers has been significantly complicated by emerging evidence. Archaeologists have now uncovered signs of large-scale cereal processing and indications of possible year-round settlement in the areas surrounding the monumental structures. This compelling evidence suggests the builders were not simple foragers, but were likely on the cusp of domestication, actively managing wild resources and blurring the fundamental line between hunter-gatherer and early farmer. Furthermore, Göbekli Tepe is no longer understood as a lone anomaly. It is now recognized as the oldest and largest node within a vast, interconnected network of at least a dozen sites spread across the region, known collectively as the Taş Tepeler, or Stone Hills. This network suggests a shared cultural and symbolic system spanning hundreds of square kilometers, an unprecedented level of social organization and collective identity for societies of this period. Sites like Karahan Tepe, which boasts an astonishing pillar featuring a realistic human face alongside carved snakes, share the same distinctive T-shaped iconography and monumental ambition. This reveals that Göbekli Tepe was not a one-off freak of history, but part of a widespread regional cultural phenomenon, a network of shared beliefs and practices spanning the entire area, a lost civilization of the Stone Age that is only now coming back to light. The symbols, ancient code or artistic expression? The true mystery of Göbekli Tepe lies not just in its staggering age or its monumental scale, but in the silent, stone language carved into its very bones. To walk among these pillars is to be surrounded by an ancient gallery of strange symbols. These are not casual doodles. They are precise, powerful, and haunting. They represent a codex from the Stone Age, and for decades, archaeologists have played the role of detectives without a key, trying to crack a cipher over 12,000 years old. The cast of characters is both specific and sinister. The pillars are dominated by predators and dangerous creatures, sly foxes, coiling snakes, threatening scorpions, and birds of prey, particularly vultures. They are often depicted in dynamic, aggressive poses, snarling, striking, or dominating. Interspersed among these animals are abstract symbols, H-shapes, crescents, and rings. And then there are the pillars themselves, the towering T-shaped stones that many researchers believe are stylized human forms, their flat tops representing heads with carved arms, hands, and loincloths suggesting silent, watchful beings. Faced with this stone lexicon, experts have proposed several competing interpretations, each a piece of the puzzle. Were these totemic representations, each animal symbolizing a different clan that came together to build this communal site? Could they be shamanic ritual imagery, depicting spirit animals and visions from altered states of consciousness, a window into the spiritual world of our ancestors? A more astronomical view suggests they are constellations, a celestial map frozen in limestone, with each creature representing a star pattern in the night sky. Or perhaps they are something more narrative, a complex storytelling of myths, legends, or catastrophic real-world events that shaped their universe. These theories are not mutually exclusive. They represent different facets of a complex belief system we are only beginning to glimpse. No single pillar embodies this mystery more than Enclosure D's Pillar 43, famously known as the Vulture Stone. It is a concentrated burst of symbolic storytelling that has become the Rosetta Stone of Göbekli Tepe, except we still can't read it. Its surface is a chaotic narrative. A large, unmistakable vulture dominates the scene, its wings spread. Below it, a scorpion seems to menace the air. To the right, a headless human figure stands, and a great bird with a long neck swoops down. Other abstract symbols, like a disc and a series of crescents, dot the composition. It feels less like a decoration and more like a chapter from a prehistoric book, telling a story of death, the cosmos, and perhaps calamity. This pillar has become central to recent astronomical interpretations, with some researchers suggesting its symbols correspond to specific constellation positions, potentially mapping a catastrophic event witnessed by its creators. This is the heart of the interpretive challenge. We have no context. There is no accompanying text to translate. Writing wouldn't be invented for another 6,000 years. This immense gap in time is a chasm we cannot easily cross. Every interpretation runs the risk of being a modern projection, of us seeing what we want to see in the Rorschach test of the deep past. Is the vulture a symbol of death, a constellation, or a clan emblem? Is the headless man a representation of mortality, a specific ritual practice, or a celestial event? Without a guide, all theories remain plausible, yet frustratingly unproven. The symbols resist a single, easy reading, reflecting a worldview that is fundamentally alien to our own. This leads to the fundamental problem that stalled research for years, the sheer volume and complexity of the data. The human brain is exceptional at spotting patterns, but it is also easily overwhelmed and influenced by cognitive bias. Göbekli Tepe isn't just one pillar with a few symbols. It's a complex of many enclosures with hundreds of carvings whose positions relative to each other and to the architecture might hold the key. The site is a three-dimensional puzzle where spatial relationships are as important as the images themselves. How does the frequency of a fox symbol in Enclosure A relate to the position of a snake in Enclosure C? What narrative is woven across the entire site? The patterns are too vast, too complex, and too subtle for any single researcher, or even an entire generation of researchers, to comprehend fully. The relationships between these symbols, their frequencies, and their placements form a tangled web of potential meaning that human eyes alone could never hope to untangle with definitive certainty. We had hit a wall, confined by our own cognitive limitations and the sheer scale of the task. To break through, we needed to partner with a new kind of intelligence, one capable of processing this immense data set without preconceived notions, capable of seeing the whole picture where we could only see fragments. The hope was that a cold, analytical process could provide the objective framework needed to finally begin translating the whispers from the Stone Age. AI archaeology, a new Rosetta Stone. Faced with a 12,000-year-old enigma, archaeologists at Göbekli Tepe had reached an impasse. The site's complexity, with its multitude of intricate symbols and towering pillars, presented a puzzle that traditional methods struggled to solve. The human mind, despite its brilliance, could not process the vast number of potential connections and patterns hidden within the stone carvings. A new, unbiased approach was needed, one that could analyze the site's data on a massive scale and without modern preconceptions. This led researchers to seek a powerful analytical partner, not to replace human interpretation, but to augment it with rigorous, data-driven scrutiny. The foundation of this new approach was the creation of an impeccable digital record of the entire site. Before any analysis could begin, researchers embarked on a massive data collection project. Using advanced LiDAR technology, which employs lasers to map minute contours and structures, teams generated a precise three-dimensional model of Göbekli Tepe, capturing every detail of its architecture and topography. This was complemented by photogrammetry, where thousands of high-resolution photographs taken from every conceivable angle were stitched together into detailed 3D renderings of each pillar, surface, and symbol. Every carving was meticulously cataloged, not just for its form, but for its precise location, orientation, and relationship to other symbols. This comprehensive digital archive provided the essential dataset for all subsequent investigations. Rather than employing a generalized artificial intelligence to assign meaning, researchers like Martin Sweatman from the University of Edinburgh applied a more focused methodology rooted in archaeoastronomy, the study of how ancient cultures understood phenomena in the sky. Their analysis proposed that the animal symbols were not a written language to be deciphered, but were instead sophisticated representations of celestial bodies. By comparing the arrangement of creatures on the pillars to astronomical software simulations of the night sky from millennia ago, they found compelling correlations. For instance, the vulture and scorpion on Pillar 43 closely matched the positions of the constellations Sagittarius and Scorpius as they appeared around 10,950 BCE. The stone's central circle could potentially represent the sun, or a comet, situating the entire scene at a specific moment in time. This archaeoastronomical interpretation suggests the builders of Göbekli Tepe were not merely skilled stoneworkers, but also meticulous observers of the heavens, capable of tracking long-term cycles such as the precession of the equinoxes. The carvings may encode a warning of a catastrophic event, possibly linked to the Younger Dryas period, transforming the site from a ritual monument into a cosmic memorial, a stone-based record of a devastating celestial encounter. Supporting this theory is a counterintuitive archaeological finding. The deepest, oldest layers at Göbekli Tepe exhibit superior craftsmanship, with sharper, more precise carvings and more lifelike reliefs. In contrast, the more recent layers above are noticeably rougher and less skilled. This reversal of the expected technological progression implies that the first builders possessed advanced knowledge and techniques that diminished over time. It suggests that Göbekli Tepe may have functioned as a sanctuary for preserving endangered knowledge, a purposeful time capsule designed to protect a profound understanding of the cosmos and its cycles for future generations. The cosmic warning. The AI's analysis converged with startling precision on a single pillar, the vulture stone, Pillar 43. It determined that the specific arrangement of its symbols, the vulture, scorpion, circle, and other birds, corresponds not to a generic sky, but to an exact snapshot of the constellations on a terrifyingly specific date, approximately 10,950 BCE. This time frame is the key to the stone's grim message, as it aligns almost exactly with the proposed Younger Dryas impact event. This highly compelling hypothesis posits that a comet, or its fragments, struck the Earth around 12,800 years ago, unleashing an unimaginable cataclysm. The AI's dating of the pillar provides a stunning, stone-carved corroboration of this event, suggesting it depicts the very mechanism of doomsday: firestorms, mega tsunamis, and a global winter that plunged the planet into a sudden, brutal ice age. According to this interpretation, the vulture stone is no abstract myth. It is a direct historical record of the sky falling, etched by survivors of this epoch-ending catastrophe. The analysis further revealed that this was not an isolated record. The AI identified multiple dates and cyclical patterns encoded across the site's other pillars. This suggests the builders of Göbekli Tepe understood these apocalyptic events were not singular, but periodic. They saw time as a great circle, with cosmic destruction and renewal being a predictable, recurring phenomenon. They were not merely memorializing the past, they were attempting to calculate the next cataclysm. This profound insight casts the site's mysterious burial around 8,000 BCE in a new and haunting light. If Göbekli Tepe was a sacred observatory designed to warn of cyclical cosmic threats, then its deliberate interment was not abandonment. It was an act of preservation. They were protecting their hard-won astronomical knowledge, a dire warning encapsulated in stone, for a future civilization that might one day face the same threat. A network of Stone Age sanctuaries. For years, Göbekli Tepe stood alone in our imagination. A mysterious, one-of-a-kind wonder from the deep past, a lonely mountain temple built by people who shouldn't have been able to build it. But a stunning series of recent discoveries has shattered that idea. We now know Göbekli Tepe wasn't alone. It wasn't even the only one. It was just the beginning. Archaeologists have discovered that Göbekli Tepe is the star of a much larger show. It is part of a network of at least a dozen other sites scattered across the region, a project now known as the Taş Tepeler, or Stone Hills. The most famous of these sister sites is called Karahan Tepe, and what they found there is just as incredible. Karahan Tepe also has massive T-shaped pillars, some with even more detailed carvings. One stunning pillar doesn't just have animal symbols, it has a realistic human face, staring out from the stone next to a coiled snake. The style is unmistakably the same people, the same culture, the same mysterious mission. A visit to the Şanlıurfa Archaeological Museum near the sites makes the connection undeniable. Here, artifacts from Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, and other sites are displayed together. You can see it with your own eyes, the same types of tools, the same artistic style, and the same symbols repeated across many different locations. This wasn't just one group of hunter-gatherers who got a crazy idea. This was a widespread culture, a shared belief system that connected people across a vast area. This revelation is a game-changer for AI research. Before, scientists were training the AI on just one site, Göbekli Tepe. It was like teaching a language with only one book. Now they can feed the AI a whole library. The algorithms are being applied to the digital scans from Karahan Tepe and the other stone hills. They are searching for patterns that stretch across the entire region. Does a fox symbol at Göbekli Tepe mean the same thing as a fox at Karahan Tepe? Does the arrangement of pillars at one site match a celestial pattern at another? The AI can now look for a unified cosmic code, a common story told across multiple holy sites. But this expanding picture is also making the story more complicated. At some of these sister sites, archaeologists are starting to find evidence of something new: domestic structures. They are finding signs that people may have lived there year-round. This challenges the simple idea that these places were pure temples, visited only for rituals by nomadic bands. It suggests the builders might have been more settled than we thought, blurring the line between hunter-gatherers and farmers. This means the big, simple story is getting richer and more interesting. We are moving from the idea of a single miraculous temple to the reality of a whole sacred landscape. It was a network of sites, a connected culture with a shared vision, working across a wide region to build something monumental for a reason we are only just beginning to understand. The mystery didn't get smaller with these new discoveries. It got much, much bigger. Message from our prehistoric past. So, what does this all mean? What does this AI-assisted glimpse into the world's oldest temple tell us about our ancestors, and perhaps even about ourselves? The story of Göbekli Tepe is no longer just an archaeological puzzle. It is a profound lesson about human potential, resilience, and our place in the cosmos. The historical implications are staggering. It forces us to throw away the old textbook chapter on the dawn of civilization. These were not simple brutes, just struggling to survive. The builders of Göbekli Tepe were master architects, engineers, and artists. They demonstrate a level of social organization and cooperation among hunter-gatherers that we never thought possible. They could plan, they could inspire a large workforce, and they could execute a vision that would take generations to complete. This wasn't the end of something primitive. It was the breathtaking peak of a sophisticated Stone Age world. Cognitively, they shatter our assumptions. They weren't just looking at the ground for their next meal. They were looking up at the night sky with a deep and sophisticated understanding. They tracked the stars, recorded catastrophic events, and devised a way to preserve this knowledge across millennia by carving it into stone. This shows a powerful long-term memory and a desire to speak to the future, to us. This leads to the most profound philosophical shift. Their worldview might have been fundamentally different from our linear view of history, where time is a straight line from the past to the future. The symbols and potential cycles of catastrophe suggest they saw time as a cycle of creation, destruction, and rebirth. They saw themselves not as masters of the universe, but as participants in a vast, sometimes violent, cosmic system. This ancient wisdom, that we are part of a larger natural order, feels incredibly relevant today. Whether or not these symbols represent cosmic warnings, they demonstrate that systematic sky observation, the foundation of astronomy, began far earlier than previously thought. Of course, we must temper this all with caution. Many respected scholars urge us to be careful. They point out that AI is brilliant at finding patterns, but it doesn't understand meaning. We are inevitably viewing the past through our own modern lens, projecting our fears of climate change and cosmic threats onto these stones. The symbols could still be stories of spirit animals or records of tribal history. The beautiful, terrifying cosmic warning is still a theory, not a proven fact. Despite this caution, the method itself is revolutionary. The use of AI at Göbekli Tepe is changing archaeology forever. This is not just about one site in Turkey. The same technology is being used to read burned Roman scrolls, reconstruct broken pottery, and discover lost cities in the jungle. We have a powerful new tool to help us listen to the whispers of the past, and Göbekli Tepe is its first, loudest echo. The stones have spoken, but we are still learning how to listen. The message from our prehistoric past is still coming into focus, and it is reminding us that our history is deeper, richer, and far more mysterious than we ever dreamed.